Hello, my name is Connie Davis, and I'm here today to speak to you about concise communication for genealogists using SBAR. I'm happy to be here for the 4th birthday of the Virtual Genealogical Association. I respectfully acknowledge that I'm speaking to you today from the traditional, ancestral, unceded territory of the Stalo and the Lecomoc people. I'm very grateful to live, work, and play in this beautiful countryside, and I'm grateful for their stewardship over thousands of years. I have nothing to disclose. The objectives today are to describe the parts of SBAR and describe how SBAR contributes to collaboration. And that's what I hope you'll be able to do at the end of the presentation. SBAR is an acronym. It stands for Situation, Background, Assessment, and Recommendation, Request, or Report, depending on the specific situation. SBAR is a framework to efficiently, accurately, and respectfully communicate information. It was derived from military communication concepts and is spread to anyone who wants to communicate information efficiently and in partnership with others. Doug Bonnicum, the Vice President of Safety Management of Kaiser Permanente, learned how to communicate quickly and accurately when he was serving on a nuclear submarine. He later adapted what he learned into the acronym SBAR and taught it to healthcare professionals. They had the same goals. They needed to communicate clearly and safely and to provide accurate information across professionals and settings. The SBAR approach can help family history researchers make sure their communication is clear, concise, and respectful. Next, we're going to look in each of the sections in detail, and then I'm going to walk you through a couple of examples. S is for situation. This is where you state the topic of your communication in a few words, never more than a couple of sentences. This might be the subject line of a message or an email. B stands for background. In this portion of SBAR, you present a brief history of the situation. That could be the present context and any other relevant information the person needs to understand the situation. This might include reminding someone of a prior conversation or where you left off in a plan. This part of SBAR answers the question, how did we get here? This is not an information dump of your 30 years of research. It's important to not overwhelm people with a background, particularly if they're a new collaborator. A is for assessment. This is your assessment of the situation and why you think so. If you're not sure what's happening, like a puzzling DNA result or conflicting evidence, say so. R could vary depending on the situation. It could be a recommendation, a request, or a report. It might be a recommendation for the person to consider. To aid collaboration, you might say it like this. I wonder if a next step might be. It could be a request. Be clear about what you want, from whom you want it, and when. If this is a follow-up communication, it might be a report back about what you discovered. Now we're going to look at the first of two examples. This example might be a phone call, a Zoom meeting, or a conversation. And we'll walk through each part of SBAR, starting with bringing up the topic, providing just enough background information. In this case, it'll be presenting an opportunity for collaboration, and then our R. And you'll see what the R is chosen in just a moment. For situation, you might say something like this. I'd like to talk about how DNA testing might help us understand more about our shared family history. And if they show interest, you can continue with the next part of SBAR. If they don't seem interested at this time, you might want to wait and offer to talk about it at another time. For background, you might choose some parts of information like this. There's a mystery in our family about Maddie Childress's parents. She's your great-grandmother. She married A.J. Pike in 1878, and she hasn't shown up in any records past 1880. You're one of 8 living great-grandchildren of Maddie and A.J. Pike. DNA testing could be very helpful in this time frame since it's such a close relationship. Here's the assessment. Your participation in DNA testing could provide important information to solve this mystery. In this case, the best choice for R is a request. I would like to purchase a DNA kit for you if you would be interested in participating. Following the request, it'd be important to help the person understand the privacy of DNA testing, the kind of access you'd need so they can make an informed decision. And so once you get permission, you might say, thanks, I'll mail a kit to you tomorrow. Can you call me when it arrives so we can go over the next steps together? There's another communication technique that's really helpful for informed decision-making, and it's called BRAIN, another acronym, and we can go over that at some other point in time. Let's go over a second example. This is an example for written messages. Your S is going to be your subject line. If it's an email or a messaging system that has a subject line, you're going to provide just enough background information. Again, bring up your conclusion and then move on to whatever your R is. For this email, the subject line might be Davis Ellis Family Letters, 1857 to 1898. For the background, you would write, several different members of our family have original letters written between 1857 and 1898 by members of our Davis and Ellis ancestors. I know I have one, cousin Mary has several, and cousin Bob has a few more. These letters are fragile, and many people outside our branch of the family don't have access to them and maybe don't know they exist. Assessment. I've been thinking about some options for how we could both preserve them and make them available to other family members. In this case, it might be a recommendation with a gentle request. I think it would be a good idea to photograph all of them and discuss a way to share the images with others. Donating the originals to an archive so they can be preserved by a professional seems like a good idea too. I'd be interested in everyone's thoughts. An important communication tip to review what you've written before pressing send. Imagine yourself in the recipient's shoes and make sure you haven't skipped important information and have used an inviting tone of writing that does not demand actions from another. Here's another message. You can pause the recording right now and review it and see if you think it follows these different steps or parts of SBAR. So in a review, SBAR stands for Situation, Background, Assessment, and Recommendation, Request, or Report. SBAR is a way to communicate efficiently, accurately, and collaboratively. I hope you'll find SBAR helpful and consider how effective communication and collaboration benefits all of us. I'd like to close with a quote. This is the quote from Marian Wright Edelman. Be a good ancestor. Stand for something bigger than yourself. Add value to the earth during your sojourn. Thank you so much for spending some time with me here today. It's been a pleasure to be with you.